As you may or may not know, I wrote a book called The 48 Laws of Power, and in many interviews I've discussed and analyzed particular laws in depth. And so here is a compilation of some of those best moments in which I've gone into the various laws of the 48 Laws of Power. I hope you enjoy it.
That feeling of having no control and how miserable it is. Related to that is the feeling that I'm trapped in this role in life that is not of my own choosing. People see me as a writer, a secretary, or whatever, and it's not what I want to be. And that's how everybody judges me, and you feel trapped and you have no power or control. The opposite of that is this feeling that you can be whatever you want. You can recreate yourself. You can suddenly have a different persona. You can change your personality.
By the way, one of the actual other laws is you can act like the king already. So in a sense, I found those two working together. You can recreate yourself, and the other law was be royal already. So maybe that's what you need to recreate yourself into.
Completely. You know, the power game is all about psychology. It's not about money. It's not about who you can push around. It's all about psychology. And it begins in how you think of yourself.
And what I was writing about in that law number 2 in the 48 Laws of Power, I was warning you against a common thing, which is you have a business and you're looking for a partner, right? Or you're looking to hire someone. Your first instinct is, I want to hire a friend. I want to hire that person who's likable, who likes me, who I've had a relationship with. That's a terrible mistake. You want to hire the best person for the job. Friends have all kinds of emotional entanglements that'll come out in the course of the relationship, of the business. They'll feel envy. They'll sabotage you. It's a nightmare, and there's a huge history behind it. That's what that law is about. It's not about not having friends. How stupid would I be to say that? Friends are an incredibly important role. The worst thing that can happen for you, even in social media, is that you become too familiar and people kind of think that you're just like anybody else and they get sick of you, which is very easy to happen, right? Just too much of you on social media every day and there's nothing special about it. So you can step back. You can't step back for a week or 2 weeks, but you can step back for a day or two. And the other thing is, it's how you present yourself. So if you're so familiar that everybody knows what you eat in the morning, how you dress yourself, if that camera's on you 24/7, there's no mystery around you at all. You're so familiar, you're so banal, there's no extra presence to you, there's no glamour. So learn to create some mystery around you. Mystery, where people don't really know what you're up to, is a form of saying less than necessary, where you make people think about you when you're not there. Just being aware that revealing everything about yourself isn't really a sustainable form of power, that sometimes not revealing who you are is actually the higher form of power. It's not easy in the era of social media, but people like Beyonce or Michael Jackson was a master of it. He was kind of a little before the internet. But he would disappear for several months or even a year before a record was coming out, so people would be talking about him. And even Beyonce is really good at this. So there are people who are good at it in the era of social media, and there are a lot of people who aren't very good at it. You can't just say whatever is on your mind. You can't just think that being who you are and being natural and being, your normal self is going to get you very far. You have to be careful in this world. I'm not telling you to be paranoid. I'm just telling you to be self-aware, that the people around you have egos, that people are judging you based on what you say, about how you dress, about your style, about how you look, about the friends you associate with. You may not like it, but it's the reality. You have to understand some of these basic principles so that you don't go around making these painful mistakes. So law number 1, never outshine the master. The idea is very simple. Your boss who you work for, and wherever you are, you're going to have a boss, even if it's only a company of 2 people. That person has an ego, has insecurities. And if you try too hard to impress him or her, if you show off too much, you probably are going to inadvertently trigger their insecurities. And they're going to do weird things to you. They're not going to say, you made me feel insecure. You made me think that maybe you're after my job. Instead, they're going to fire you, or they're going to put you in a bad position. They're never going to tell you what exactly the reality is. Law number 7, get others to do the work but always take the credit. That, I agree, is a nasty law. I don't deny it. But I explain very clearly in the course of that law that you must look at it from the reverse side. That while you're happily working on your screenplay or on your startup, there are vultures circling around you right at that moment who are ready to pounce and steal your idea and take it from you and take credit for it. Be aware, even of those manipulative laws that people think are so evil, there's a flip side to them. They're opening your eyes to the dark side of power. Because I came from the book from the side of the innocent. I never had power. So I'm writing it from that point of view because that happened to me. People took my ideas in Hollywood, they stole them, they put their name on it. One of the laws of power is guard your reputation with your life. It's like your treasure. It's how people perceive you. And if your reputation kind of precedes you, and it can make people even afraid of you before they meet you. In the ancient China, in like the 1st century AD or so, there was this great Chinese general called Zhuge Liang. It's narrated in this book called The Romance of Three Kingdoms. And he was so clever. He was by far the most clever general that ever lived, that armies were already kind of worried before they went into battle with him, knowing that he would have some trick up his sleeve. They were certain that he was going to do something that they never thought of before. So at one point, Zhuge Liang is in a castle, and all his men have deserted him for whatever reason, and he only has like 50 men left in the castle, and he hears that an army of 20,000 soldiers is advancing, and he says, it's over, my career's over, they're going to wipe us out and kill us. So what does he do? He sat himself up on the wall of the castle with like a harp or a lute in his hand, and he just sat there strumming it and humming like a prayer and kind of singing. And the enemy army approaches. They see Zhuge Liang on the top there. He's got some trick up his sleeve. He's luring us into the castle where he must have 50,000 men that are ready to ambush and counterattack us. He wouldn't be sitting on that citadel like that unless he was trying to trick us in some way. And so they end up retreating. So a man with 50 men defeated an army of 20,000 men just through this psychological warfare and just through this reputation that he had of being so incredibly brilliant. And I think a great coach like a Bill Belichick kind of has that sort of spirit as well. If you think that you are worthy of something great, that you were destined to create something great when you were born, it translates into other people feeling that off of you. I have a law in 48 Laws of Power called Act Like a King to be treated like one. Someone like Elon Musk. And Elon Musk is a guy who has an incredible sense of belief in himself. He believes that he can get anything that he puts his mind to, he'll be successful with. And I talk in my talk about Tesla Motors and how it really looked like he was going to fail miserably, right? And people were telling me it was going to be a disaster. But the fact that he believed in it so much and he had this incredible charisma meant that other people believed in him and started buying his stock. And the price of the stock was way overvalued, but it doesn't matter. He raised enough money to make the company solvent and make it profitable. So his self-belief translated into other people believing in him, which translated into money, which translated into success he's having. One of the laws is, I think the most important, basically make people dependent on you. Right. So you don't want to appeal to people's love, to the fact that they like you. You want to appeal to the fact that they need you. Mm-hmm. Because if they love you, love is a very tenuous emotion. In fact, it doesn't work very well in the work situation. It causes all kinds of problems. They'll get rid of you tomorrow, even though they like you. But if they need you, it's like pulling out all of these roots of a plant to get rid of you. It's going to cause all kinds of damage all over the place. They need you and they can't get rid of you. So you need to make sure that your position in a company, in life in general, you're the only person who can do that. Power isn't inherently evil. It's not inherently good either. It's how you use it. And my idea in the 48 Laws of Power, my version of morality was, here's this knowledge that's kind of kept as a secret about how to succeed in this world. It's something that elites and people in power have known, but have never wanted to share. And it irritated and frustrated me that these kind of laws that I observed in Hollywood, for instance. It was like we were living in this fairy tale. Like people would pretend that this Hollywood director producer was all about doing great things, good things, noble things, liberal values. Whereas in truth, they were power hungry and they would do maneuvers that were extremely bad or even downright evil.
You are responsible for the things that happen in your life. You're the agent of what is good and what is bad. And when something bad happens to you, your natural tendency will be to look out in the world and blame this person, blame your mother, your father, your wife, your boss. But in fact, there's always a kernel of yourself that is to blame for what happened. And so the process that's involved that I talk about in the book is you look at yourself and you examine how perhaps something you did, something you said, something in your planning was wrong, and that was what caused this problem. And that should be a liberating thing, because what that means is you have power. You're not dependent on mommy or daddy or boss or whomever to please you, to bring you what you want. You are the one responsible for it.
In Renaissance Italy, they had these men called condottieres, who were kind of like paid mercenary soldiers. And this one condottiere led this campaign for the city of Siena or Florence or something. And he was so successful, he was brilliant, he totally saved the city. And then he said, okay, I saved your life, Siena. Now I want to be made the general of all of your armies and to have an even more important position. The town council went in and they debated it and they said, look, let's kill him, we'll assassinate him, and then we'll make him a saint. And then that's what they end up doing, they kill him. And the lesson of it was, if you're not necessary, if people don't need you, if they can replace you with somebody else, which is what they did, they're just going to end up killing you or beheading you or firing you. So be aware that you're easily replaced in this world, that you're not as important as you think you are unless you create a position that getting rid of you is so much trouble. And so this condottiere was easily replaceable by another, but he didn't realize that it had gone to his head.
In my 48 Laws of Power, I talk about infection, where there are people who have an infecting power on you. They're surrounded by all kinds of drama. They continually present themselves as the victim of other people, whereas in fact, they're the ones that constantly draw this drama to them because that's how they survive. And you're going to find yourself involved with them, and it's going to be horrible to get out of the relationship. You're going to feel guilty. So develop the power to recognize them before you get involved. And I have in the Laws of Human Nature tons of advice about that, paying attention to people's nonverbal cues. A narcissist tends to have a very animated face, but a kind of a deadness in their eyes. They're kind of listening to you, but you can hear that they're actually thinking about themselves. They're not really connecting to you through the eyes. The face is alive, but the eyes are dead. There are signs, nonverbal cues that will show you that you're dealing with someone generally very self-directed. Interaction with boldness. So most people are just too timid in life. They're afraid of failure. They're afraid of making mistakes. If I never try anything, then I never have to put up with criticism, never have to put up with people scrutinizing me. So most people end up being too shy, too timid in life. And you've got to get over that. And you've got to learn how to be bold with your ideas and with your actions. So I try to make each one of my books kind of a statement and impress people with like a strong idea, and not be afraid of criticism and not being afraid of controversy. So boldness has gotten me through life, and I think it's critically important in this day and age.
What are the 3 things you should do if you're interested in power? Well, the first thing you should never do is be in a hurry for power, because that's going to cause you to make all kinds of stupid mistakes. You're going to think that getting attention and recognition and getting people to love you and like you and admire you is power, and you can do that tomorrow by being charming and brilliant and witty. It's not sustainable. So the only form of power that's sustainable is one that you build over time, that's based on something real, that's based on your own skills that you have, on your own experience that you have. And the more patient you are in the game of power, the tougher you will be and the more powerful you will become. So your impatience is the greatest impediment of all to any kind of power. The second thing you should never do is take people at face value. It's very difficult for us because we assume that the appearance of people is the reality. But people wear masks. They're incredibly tricky. They're incredibly elusive. Even your allies may not be as much of an ally as you think they are. So develop the habit of thinking that people are disguising something. It's not nefarious. It's not evil. You're just thinking that the appearance that they have of being so confident and so strong might actually be concealing deep insecurities, or that dramatic, charismatic person might be hiding deep levels of irrationality and even madness, an infecting type person. So don't ever take people at face value. Don't trust their appearances. And the third one is, don't try to be like other people. It's very, very difficult because you We're conformists by nature, and we want to imitate what's out there. We look at icons and people in media and we say, I want to be just like him. I want to be just like her. I want to have that kind of attention and that kind of success. And the most powerful people, the most successful people in the world, they're one of a kind. There's never been anyone else like them. They're so weird, they're so different, their style is so unique that is their source of power. Trying to run away from that and trying to be like other people and trying to imitate them only means that you're incredibly replaceable. So if you're just like everybody else, there's no reason for anybody to hire you in the long run, because eventually they can replace you with someone younger and cheaper. But if you're truly an original, if you're truly different, if you have skills that nobody else has, if you have something to say and express that no one has expressed before, that is the ultimate position of power. No one can get rid of you. People want more and more of you instead of less and less of you. I try to remove the kind of taboo or the negative associations we have with the word like power or with the word ambition. I try and say ambition is a good thing. It means that you believe in yourself, you have some self-love, and you believe you're worth something, and you want to go out and achieve and create something worthwhile for other people. So ambition is a positive thing. But so many people are just kind of embarrassed about being a human being, embarrassed about our primate nature, embarrassed about our own aggressive impulses. Machiavelli has that quote, so that if you expect everybody to be good in this world, you're in a lot of trouble. What are you going to do when you deal with people who aren't good? But yeah, you have to be willing to get your hands dirty. Let's say a classic example, like there's a cause that's very important to you, like the climate or racial justice in America, all very important issues that most of us believe in. You have to be willing to get down and dirty here, because you're playing with politics. You're playing with people who are going to resist. You're playing with major corporations who are going to bust your balls, who are going to be incredibly manipulative and downright evil in co-opting your good idea and kind of neutralizing it. So if you want to create something, if you want to actually have results, you have to be willing to get a little dirty, and you have to be willing to be strategic. You have to understand that the other side might not be playing by the same rules that you're playing with.
Malcolm X said, absolute power corrupts, but powerlessness corrupts even more. So the feeling that you don't have any power is even more corrupting, because it makes you passive aggressive. It turns you into these warriors who think they're doing something and you're not even aware of what you're really after. That was the whole point of the 48 Laws of Power. It was an inflection moment in our culture, in our history, where I was getting really upset with all of the political correctness and all of the squishy self-help books out there and trying to appeal to our good side, and things like ambition or power were ugly words. Man, I hated that. I thought it was so hypocritical. But I want people to admit, if you were saying look at yourself, that you have this desire for power. It can twist you. You can look for it in wrong ways, most definitely. But at least come to Jesus, come to Muhammad, and admit that that's who you are, that that's what's most... behavior. And from there, we can start seeing, well, maybe there are more constructive forms of power that I can go after.
There are 48 laws, right? 48, that's the number, okay? I could count maybe 4, maybe 5 overtly manipulative laws in there. There are 44, 45 others that are not manipulative at all. Plan all the way to the end, create compelling spectacles, despise the free lunch, which is about being generous. In victory, know when to stop, don't go too far. Work on the hearts and minds of other people. Be the perfect courtier. Don't isolate yourself in a fortress. Demonstrate your ideas, don't argue. There's nothing evil, there's nothing manipulative about that. But people pick out the chapters that are the most egregious. That's manipulation in my mind.